live once again. Thank you, everybody, for joining. As always, please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Today, we have a couple of topics I want to touch on. But first, before anything else, I want to remind everybody, if possible, please make sure you're taking care of yourself. That means getting lots of water to drink, finding cool places. If you don't have air conditioning yourself, try to find a place, a mall, the casino, if you're in Windsor, um, library, the public library. Find a place that has air conditioning, find a place that's cool, because as of right now, it feels like it is 107 degrees, so it is very warm. Take care of yourself, and if we are Masons, let's please check in on our Masonic brethren and make sure they're doing okay. Today is also, I discovered, World Social Media Day. Let me just double check that to make sure I got it right, but I saw a couple posts about that. I am grateful to be able to use social media to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. And with that in mind, thank you all for being here, and thank you for helping me do that. I'm grateful. With that in mind, let's give it some time. Let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment. Hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. And more importantly, let me know if you are a Patreon supporter of Square and Compass Promotions. I'm going to actually leave the Patreon. Good afternoon. How's it going, Michael Moore? Leave the link on there. I don't know if you heard me mention, it is World Social Media Day. Your support on social media has been gratefully appreciated. It is hot. You are not wrong about that at all. Like I said, get lots of water, drink lots of water, check on your brothers who may be struggling. If you don't have air conditioning, I can speak for Windsor. You can go to, amongst other places, the public libraries, all of which are open today, the casino, Devonshire Mall, all of which have air conditioning, all of which are open to the public. Water World is, I think, a designated cooling center as well. Hello, ID1 Kenobi. Thank you for being here. And let's not forget to check on our Masonic brethren. I know several brethren who are older and, maybe struggling with the heat as well. Supposedly, in France, I think it was France, it was either France or all of Europe, I need to double check, but either way, they've had, due to the heat wave, over 1,000 excess deaths. That means deaths that would not have happened were it not for the heat. So, including people drowning by trying to cool off in rivers and lakes. And I do think we as Freemasons do have a responsibility, if nothing else, to check on our brethren who are older, who we know might be in danger from the heat. Maybe deliver them some water. Just give them a call. Check to see how they're doing. It can be an incredibly helpful thing, I think. So I hope you guys will consider doing so. I don't disagree. ID1 Kenobi. I think humans have, unfortunately, caused some harm to this planet, and we're currently living through a lot of the consequences of it. But I also think that we can take a moment to kind of beat ourselves up, but at that point, we take a moment to beat ourselves up. Then we go to the drawing board and figure out how to survive in this new climate, which is going to require all of us to act in a community manner, think about each other, work towards helping each other, support one another, uh, pay attention to those who might be especially at risk from the heat. So you're going to need to do that a lot more. And then we're going to need to get some scientists on some new technologies pronto. Uh, Hank, some would say I have zero brains. Unknown, thank you. And thank you to the Prince Barbershop on Wyandotte Street East here in Windsor for the haircut. It's right next to the KFC. If you get the chance and you're looking for a haircut, go there. They're incredible. They do a great job. They're very friendly dudes. Their shop is awesome, and they're just good people. So thank you to the Prince Barbershop. I mean, one and only, if I was in Eyes Wide Shut, I would not be here on YouTube doing this. I'd be a millionaire. Um, it's next to the KFC. It's not at the KFC. It's next to the KFC. All right, so to the one person who so far said no, you don't support me on Patreon, patreon.com/square and compass. Andy, I just like to keep my hair short because I find, especially in summer, it's just so much more comfortable than it is in winter. It's Raining Men. Did you like and subscribe as well? And let's get ourselves subbed. How are your sisters doing, Dad? I was thinking about that. My aunts. I was wondering if they were doing okay because I know a lot of people there don't have air conditioning. So I was worried about them. Justin, that's pretty funny, but please hit like and subscribe. And one and only, I'm glad you got your new meds. There's no shame in taking medications. Take them as prescribed and keep on communicating with your doctor. Because if you start to have any concerns or issues with them, or you're worried about side effects, there's nothing wrong with that. What matters most is, are you talking to your doctor about how you're feeling? Hello. Oops. YouTube unit is slowly turning trash as of Instagram. Well, we're working on that, Unknown. So please hit like and subscribe. Yes, he is one and only hobo. Paps, I don't want to scare people. Justin, what's the difference between an enzyme and a hormone? You have to talk to a scientist about that one. I feel like that's a setup for a joke of some sort. Even my cat is feeling the heat right now. Poor Bandit. She's doing okay. All right, Justin. We're going to put you in a timeout for a second for that one. That was pretty funny. So today, my primary goal is to, first of all, see if I can get a few more people subscribing on Instagram. On Patreon. Although if you want to subscribe on any of my channels, I'd be much obliged, including this one if you're not a subscriber. But I'm especially open to get some more people on my Patreon side of the world. Also, it's primarily to remind people of what's coming up tomorrow. Notice I got my red shirt on. Tomorrow is Canada Day. We have got the first scheduled stream I have, thank you Unknown, is at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be the Canada Day Parade. I'm going to be live streaming that, celebrating this, the greatest country in the world. Followed by, I'm looking forward to this as well, followed by checking out the Arts Fair and Arts Festival. One thing I'm going to try to do on that day at the Arts Festival is try to encourage artists to display their work at the Windsor Masonic Temple Coffee Club. We have a lot of shelf space there. We have a lot of artists displaying their work there. I'd like to get a few more as well to display their work. Indigenous artists, First Nations artists, Canadian artists, international artists, heck, why not? So I think the Arts Fair is going to be a great opportunity to try and promote that space. Then I'm going to be going to a mosque, which is going to be having a Canada Day barbecue. We're going to be celebrating that, which is going to be a blast. We in Freemasonry have brothers of all different faiths, backgrounds, and beliefs. And so does Canada. And so let's celebrate that. They're going to barbecue, a flag raising. It's going to be really fun. And then I'm going to Amherstburg. And we're going to end the night with a live stream of the fireworks. So throughout the day, I'm going to be live streaming all of these events. Please tune in for part, for all, for whatever percentage you can tune in for. It's going to be really fun. Andy, I am Canadian. Um, One and only hobo. My mom passed away before I was. Well, my mom. So let's go back. I was born missing my legs. I never had any legs, and my mom passed away last year. So there you go. Um, Dina, hello. How's it going? The car guy. I remember the name. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. To everybody who's just joining us, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and if you do not follow me on Patreon, right now the majority don't, patreon.com/square and compass. You can sign up and follow me on Patreon for free, or you can sign up for even $5 a month. Helps out big time. Yeah, it is weird asking my dad about my legs. Why not just ask me about them? Um, I mean, Andy, I guess what I can do is I don't have legs. I'm in a wheelchair. I guess what I can do is answer that from a Masonic perspective. I also lost my mom a couple years ago now, it was actually, which time flies, believe me. It's crazy to think she's been gone for that long. I think one of the things about Freemasonry, one of the things that Freemasonry reminds us of, is that um, we are all mortal. We all have a limited amount of time here on this earth, and everyone that we love is also mortal and has a limited amount of time on this earth. And because of that, we should, as much as possible, it's always going to hurt. I don't care how much you try to say it won't. But we should, instead of being sad for the people we lose, we should be grateful for the time that we had with them, period. Right? That's the most important thing. So, yes, I'm sad my mom is gone, but I'm grateful that I got to be, I got to have a mom for 41 years, and a pretty great one. And I think Freemasonry reminds us of that. It reminds us that we're mortal, and because of that, maybe don't view death as something scary or sad, but just a part of the story. And something that maybe will encourage us to tell the people around us that we love them, and that we want them to, we want them to know, we want to tell them we love them while we have the chance. I was born missing my legs. Lord, I might be. Are you a subscriber? I am not. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not LGBT, but there's no parade in Windsor until August is the Pride Parade. Focusing on the positive is always a good idea, Dina. Um, and again, it's not even about focusing on the positive or the negative. It's just about a recognition of the fact that everybody goes away sooner or later. None of us are here forever, and none of the people we love are here forever. And that shouldn't be a reason to be sad. That should be a reason to be grateful. I don't get stuff from the government, so please like and subscribe and super chat and become a Patreon. One of the reasons that I don't think I'm self-soothing. I know what that means. One of the reasons that I'm asking people to go to my Patreon is so I don't need to get money from the government. We all get things from the government. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the roads and my health care and the laws and police and fire. But in terms of my job, subscribe, follow me on Patreon, send me some money. You do have to love your mom. I'm glad that you had a mom that you loved and that was part of your life. And it sucks that you lost her, but we're going to lose, the best case scenario maybe is we lose, the people we love, or the people we love lose us. Either way, nobody's around forever. So just be grateful for the time you have instead of wishing for more of it. At least that's what I find. I love John Cena. What are my thoughts on Trudeau and Katy Perry? Good for Justin Trudeau. Katy Perry is, not to cause a scandal, but an attractive lady. So, hey, more power to them. I hope they're happy. J.R. Wheezy. Isn't that from Marcus Aurelius? It sounds like a Marcus Aurelius thing. Please hit like and please hit subscribe. I'm sorry, but I've heard. Well, that's called ODSP. That's a type of, basically, it's a type of social safety net or welfare system or welfare program if you are disabled. You can apply for ODSP, which you can get, but you don't get it automatically. You have to apply for it the same way you'd apply for welfare. Um, right? But keep in mind, there's lots of different types of social safety nets within Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a type of social safety net. Every time somebody needs to, for example, goes to the lodge to get support, financial or otherwise, that's a social safety net. And the best type of social safety net is one that involves and has all different people and all different groups and all different organizations, religious as well as civil, as well as civic, as well as family, as well as neighbors. Well, I don't want to be effed up. James, please like and subscribe. All right, for God's sakes. I am. Please ignore the. Please ignore the. Police cars or sirens passing by. Hope everybody's okay. At least primarily YouTube. I mean, I have other social media accounts. I would say content creation more than YouTube because I'm also on Medium. I also have some other accounts which I try to stream on, but primarily the majority of my streaming is it was me who did it. He was getting annoying. It's primarily it's YouTube that I focus on. Patreon, X, Instagram. Hello, Dylan. How's it going? Thank you for being here. The vast majority of you, by the way, speaking of doing YouTube full time, are not supporting Square and Compass on Patreon. So please support Square and Compass on Patreon. Patreon.com/Square and Compass. I have heard of him. Didn't he write a bunch of stuff that was negative towards Freemasonry? I can't. I don't think I've read any of his work. I am excited, Mayo and Oreos. It's going to be a blast. I love Canada. Like I said, greatest country in the world. Mostly what I'm excited for is being able to stream. Being able to stream the different events. Like I said, the first scheduled stream is 11 a.m. It's going to be the Canada Day Parade. However, we will be streaming kind of throughout the day, so you can expect us to keep on popping onto your YouTube feed because there's a barbecue, there's an arts fair, there's a celebration, there's a lot of really exciting things happening all throughout that day, and I want to be streaming, all of the different things going on. If not streaming, YouTube Shorts. If not YouTube Shorts, Instagram, whatever it might be. I mean, I think depending where you grow up, right? So yeah, Canadians have different accents. Obviously, in Quebec, it's French accents. Well, thank you, Unknown. Much obliged. Yeah, I don't know. He's still alive, I guess. Because I wasn't sure if he was alive or not. I guess he's also got a YouTube channel, which has... I can't tell if he's got a YouTube channel or not. I don't know. I don't know much about him. Doesn't seem like a legit person to me, or like a legitimate source of information to me anyways. But, I don't know much about him, so I can't really speak to him. Hello, your local Spurs. How's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please hit that like button. Dylan, thank you for being here. Pierre Trudeau was not a Mason. That is true. The last prime minister that was a Freemason, at least that we know for sure is a Freemason, was Diefenbaker, John Diefenbaker. I haven't heard of any Masonic prime ministers more recently. I don't think any of them since Diefenbaker have been Freemasons, so I'm not sure. In the States, the last president to be a Freemason, uncontested or uncontroversial, was Gerald Ford. Some argue that Joe Biden was made a Mason the last day of his time in office. I don't think that's the case. He was made a Mason on site by a Prince Hall affiliate Masonic jurisdiction, which is always questionable. Not to my knowledge. Zephyr the Dragon Wolf. The numbers? You got to be more specific than that. I do not know the Indian chief minister. Maybe one day, unknown. Not right now. So, Zephyr, you're going to need to help me out here. What numbers are you referring? So Prince Hall is a Masonic organization that, and I always, hello Sunflower, I always forget the dates, so please forgive me. Michael Moore might actually know the specific dates. But around 1776, 1777, a gentleman by the name of Prince Hall applied to join a Masonic lodge in Boston, and initially he was denied admission. He was a black man. He was denied because he was an ex-slave, but really he was denied because he was black. Unfortunately, Freemasons are human beings, which means we are not exempt from the prejudices of the times, and the Boston Masonic Lodge that denied him, had fallen for those prejudices. Luckily, Prince Hall was then able to join a Irish Masonic Lodge, followed by a lodge chartered out of the United Grand Lodge of England. And through that, he got permission to start his own lodge. It was called African Lodge Number 1, and it wasn't ever exclusively for black men, but ultimately what it became, because he started with 12 other black men, it became a Masonic organization primarily for African Americans and black men who were being discriminated against because of their race. It was a place that they could go to be part of Freemasonry without having to worry about discrimination based on race. It made its way from the United States and Boston through to Canada. It's in Europe. It is an incredibly valuable and incredibly important part of the Masonic family, as well as the civil rights movement in America. Like, one thing people don't realize is Martin Luther King Jr., he had his headquarters in a Prince Hall Masonic building. And if I recall correctly, Martin Luther King's father and grandfather were both Prince Hall Freemasons. It was also one of the few places that black men in America could go to develop civic and civil related skills, like meeting organization, meeting management, things of that nature. So there you go. Shaq is with them. Yes, Shaq is a Prince Hall Freemason. He was made a Mason on site. One of the few times that somebody has made a Mason on site, but supposedly he's very active in Prince Hall Freemasonry. And there's a few pictures of him on the internet showing off his ring, things like that. Canada is a beautiful country. Nam, no idea. No idea. Yes, and I really want to get Shaquille O'Neal on my podcast at some point. Well, thank you. Never been on crack or alcohol, but still good to see you. Please hit like and subscribe. Consider yourself no. Canada is great just the way it is. I don't believe in division at all. And I think as a Freemason, it'd be pretty hypocritical of me if I did believe in division. Jake, what about Scientology? What are you referring to? Scientology is, to my understanding, a religion. It's not Masonic. You could be, I don't see why you couldn't be a Scientologist and a Freemason. But it's not, I've never met a Scientologist Freemason, put it that way. Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. He's not a Freemason. At least to my knowledge, he's not a Freemason. I would say the most famous, celebrity to be a Freemason in 2026 would probably be like Brad Paisley. I'm really hoping we can get Brad Paisley at some point or another on the channel or to visit my Masonic building. I've got close a couple times, but never quite got it all the way there, unfortunately. I mean, that doesn't sound like the Shaquille O'Neal I've heard about. Everybody I've known who's interviewed Shaquille O'Neal or talked about him says he's a super friendly dude. So Fred, I highly question your statement. What does the concept of the rough ashlar and the perfect ashlar reveal about self-improvement? That's a good question. That's a good Masonic question. Keep in mind there's also, and I can't think of the name of it now, but there's also a middle ashlar, which is kind of the midway point. To me, so obviously it's progression, right? The rough ashlar is the stone not worked on, or the stone worked on by the entered apprentices, while the perfect ashlar is the square stone that is worked on by the expert craftsman. To me, the ultimate lesson of the rough to perfect ashlar is that it is a never-ending, never finished procedure. Like, we are always, through the chisel, through the tools, through the different Masonic tools, we are always working on improving ourselves, always trying to make ourselves better. We are all in a state of being the rough ashlar to some degree. It is our responsibility to try and make ourselves as close as we can to a more perfect ashlar using our tools and the people around us. We'll never get there. We'll never get to that state of perfection, but we will try our best to get closer and closer to it. And I think that's what I always take as the lesson. We start out as rough, we end as rough, but maybe less rough than before. I don't want to see the energies of Lucifer. I don't want to be a commander of anything, but certainly not of seething energies of Lucifer, Dina. That sounds very not enjoyable to me. Pastor, you get used to it. Here's a better question. Why not become a Patreon member? Patreon.com/squarecompass. Jamie, what's going on? Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Because you keep talking to other people on the chat. This chat isn't about you. It's about me. It's about Freemasonry more specifically. So stop talking to other people on the chat. And it's also weird that you would come back. Find other streams as well, Pastor, you get used to people being unoriginal. It's definitely not about you, Wade. Churchill was a Freemason. Hitler was not. Hitler was opposed to Freemasonry. Well, Nazis were opposed to Freemasonry, including Hitler. But Churchill was a Freemason. He was not very active within the Masonic Lodge, but he was a Freemason, as was, I can't think of his name now, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was also a Freemason. So, Savior, Freemasonry is not the gospel, right? Freemasonry, the gospel refers to religion. Freemasonry is not religious. Having said that, there are many Freemasons who are Christians, and I'm sure spend much of their time spreading the gospel, or at least attending churches. Who is the confirmed Freemason who made that quote? Well, that's dumb, one and only hobo, and that shows a very sad life. I'm not talking about what? Not talking about Freemasonry? Yes, Jamie, it is a fraternity. It's a civic club. It's a group. It's also a family, right? A family of different organizations, all under the realm of, organizations that evolved from stonemasons. Bill Schnoll. First of all, when you say confirmed Freemason, confirmed by whom? Because just by him, I would not necessarily take that for proof. The other question you have to ask is, was he a member of a legitimate lodge, or was he a member of a clandestine lodge? And also, you can be a Freemason and then lie about what happened after the fact to get views and get clout. It's not impossible. We're a click-based economy, unfortunately. And many people will make up baloney in order to get views sent their way. I've been a member of Freemasonry for 20 years. I've never seen anything regarding Lucifer or perversions of any sort. So you can believe me or you can believe Bill, right? Either is perfectly fine. Um, what I would say, though, is just be very hesitant. Um, just because someone is a confirmed Freemason or says they're confirmed Freemason doesn't mean it's legit. No, no OTO at my lodge, at least not to my knowledge, Andy. I've never talked to any OTO. It's what the Order Temple Aurelius, right? Orientis. Ordo Templar. I can't think of what it's called. I can't think of the what it stands for. Ordo Templar Orientis, I believe, is what OTO stands for. I don't even think it is a. I mean, it's not like a Masonic body, right? Like you can't after you get your third. It's not as though you get your third degree and then you can do Scottish Rite, York Rite, or OTO. Having said that, I do think, especially historically, there were a lot of Masons who joined the OTO. Um, if Freemasons had really had power, surely. I mean, that's a very interesting. That's a very interesting. I've never thought about Freemasonry that way. So I would be very hesitant to use any political or economic terms to describe Freemasonry. Like, I would not describe Freemasonry as capitalist or as communist or as socialist because ultimately I think those are just way too much loaded terms, have too much political baggage attached to them. I think you could say Freemasonry is a democratic institution. Democratic, not as in Democrat Republican, but Democrat as in an organization that believes power should be granted by consent through democratic means. I mean, all of our officers are democratically elected. So I guess I may use that term, but I don't know if I call it capitalist. In some ways, you could argue it has socialist components to it, right? It's a self-funded organization, and anytime a brother needs help or needs assistance, they get that help and they get that assistance by first and foremost going to and approaching the Masonic Lodge for help through benevolence, right? Which you could argue is kind of a socialist approach to things. It's hard to say. It's hard to say how it fits into things. But then again, it's responsible for a great deal of tax revenue and private enterprise revenue that goes to cities. That's capitalism. I would just be avoidant of using those terms too much to think about Freemasonry. We do not swear life on secrecy. I have no fear of losing my life if I were to reveal the secrets. And if the one thing that keeps you from, revealing secrets or breaking an obligation is your fear of self-harm or your fear of harm coming from something, then you probably didn't really mean it in the first place. You should ultimately maintain your obligation because it's the right thing to do and because it's your conscience, not because you're afraid of any type of punishment. Well, don't be doing that, Greasy Ronnie. That's weird. So there is some truth to that, Nam. Like, the reason I always bring up the Nazis and fascist regimes banning or at least being heavily or being very antagonistic towards Freemasonry is because fascism, by its definition, it's entirely about the relationship between the individual and the state, right? They don't want individuals to have relationships with one another. They want individuals to have relationships exclusively with the state, which is why civic institutions very often suffer under fascist regimes. At least that's always been my understanding and my experience. So right now, 79% of you guys do not support Square and Compass on Patreon, and 21% of you do. So the question is, what are you doing with your life? Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Square and Compass. Bulba, I'm really hoping, I know it's Canada Day, I know it's tough, but I'm really hoping you can swing by Coffee Club tomorrow, because I will have your coin for you and I have to be there. If I'm not there when you get there, it's okay. I'll leave the coin for you. And you can just, pick it up. Just bring $2 for a bottomless cup of coffee. You can stop in for a minute. Mayo, if you want a coin, you have to sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/Square and Compass. If you sign up for the $10 a month mark, 15, you will get a coin. And some other correspondence. You just need to include your shipping address or mailing address. Dina, I don't have enough money. Freemasons honestly don't have a lot of money either, but I assure you, if you think being a Freemason will make you rich, you're going to be disappointed. But joining Patreon, at different levels, you receive different perks. Every year, if you're paying any amount of money, whether it's $1 a month or $50 a month, you get correspondence and special gifts. I usually send them out in December, and you get them before Christmas. But also when you sign up, you get special gifts and awards. It could be anything from special postcards to coins, commemorative coins, to bookmarks, to pins, to, at the $50 mark level, a scale model Masonic building. Yeah, Mayo. I mailed to California. It does take a little bit longer because I have to deal with the de minimis exemptions. I have to pay the duty. But yes, and I'll show you the coins. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let's see if I can find it. It's in here somewhere. Well, I can assure you I do not have money, so help me out by hitting like and subscribe. It does not serve as a de facto soup kitchen. It serves as a place to get together and hang out, primarily for Masons, to just talk, shoot the poop, shoot the shit, if you will, all that fun stuff. I'm not rich, Robin. It is, Andy, but you get a scale model of the Windsor Masonic Temple, which is pretty incredible. You can actually light it up in in winter, put it in a Christmas, put it up in the Christmas displays. We actually do give away those footballs as well sometimes as well. Every year for Christmas, when I'm sending out gifts to my Patreons, I try to think of different, cool, unique things that maybe they would not be getting otherwise. And stuffed footballs can be one of them. Here it is. So this is one side. I know it's backwards. This is the other side. And you get that at the $15 a month range. Now, keep in mind, you can also cheat, and that's not cheating. Sign up once, and after 1 month, cancel. You'll still get your items. But, I'd rather people not do that, but you can do that if you want. So, patreon.com/Square and Compass. Yes. $15 a month you get one. Yes, I send to California. Yes, Bulba. And I still have Bulbas. I feel bad. I mailed it to him. It got returned to me. I don't know why. I've still got the envelope in the return. I want to give it to him in person. Just to be safe, what I may do is just go to his place. That sounds creepy. And just give it to him in person if I can't get him to the coffee club. But I will be there tomorrow in the morning for a bit. And then I will, be sticking around and streaming the entire day. Sorry, Robert, we're not rich people. Freemasonry is not satanic preacher. But it's also, Robin, attracted plumbers and janitors and everything in between. And a plumber and janitor can actually be of a higher rank and a higher office than the wealthy special people. I'm going to a pizza buffet soon. Mayo and Oreos, that sounds awesome. Elon Musk is not a Freemason, so he would not be attending. Hello, it's Duck. Please hit like and subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're doing well. So, patreon.com/square and compass. I'm going to put it in the chat one more time so people can see it. I was hoping to grow my Patreon. You can also join my Patreon for free. The one thing you get from that is whenever I do a Patreon exclusive poll, you will be able to answer that, whereas other people can't. So you sometimes get access to special polls, which helps me decide what I want to focus on next. I am a Freemason. YouTube deletes me for speaking. And yes, what I am is handsome. Maybe that's what I'll do for a special Patreon giveaway in December. What I am is handsome. That'll be the next shirt I hand out. Like I said, at different levels, at the $5 level, you get your very own collector postcard. So there's different levels which have different gifts and different things that come with it. Not just once, but yearly. 000. Can you explain how the International Order of Oddfellows, I don't know enough about the Oddfellows to speak on it because I'm not an Oddfellow. I've seen documentaries about them. It looks like it's very similar. They have a similar officer structure, it looks like. They have a similar kind of set of regalia with the collars. The difference, amongst other things, seems to be, first of all, that Freemasonry is much older than the International Order of Oddfellows. I don't know if the Oddfellows has a requirement for belief in a supreme being. But I think the main difference, and obviously the ritual is different. Masonic ritual is meant to emulate primarily the journey of a stonemason from entered apprentice to master mason. I have heard of Manly P. Hall, Dina. I'm not afraid of death, Mayo. I think Freemasonry, again, teaches us not to be afraid of death, and that being afraid of death is foolish. Is International Order of Oddfellows just 100 years younger than Freemasonry? I thought International Order of Oddfellows was in like the 1850s. (1819) is when it started. And Freemasonry, you can pick different dates, but 1717, if you want to use that as the date, 1717, so about 200 years. And also, because Freemasonry evolved from stonemasonry, you can push that even further back and say it's, 300, or it's 3,000 years older. So, Mayo, I think that's a Masonic lesson. Fearing death will keep you from living, so we should live as we can. I think that's absolutely the case. I also think that within Freemasonry, it's absolutely the case as well that it reminds us to not take life for granted and to not fear death. There are far worse things than death. That's one thing that Freemasonry reminds us of. Being dishonorable, being unkind, being scared. All of those things are far worse than death itself. Living your life in fear is far worse than death, right? I am somewhat, afraid of how I might die, in that I would not want it to be in a manner that's very painful or very long. Seeing people like my mom who passed away from cancer, the length of time that it took and the pain she was in and the lack of, independence, what cancer robbed her of, that scares me. But death itself doesn't scare me. Being a bad person or being dishonorable or harming others or being scared. That scares me more than death. Um, Mayo, maybe. I don't know if that's true or not. I personally don't believe that. But, I mean, who knows? We're all going to find out. What's GUOOF? I don't know what that is. I know what IOOF is. Mayo and Oreos, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. I know we already hit subscribe, sorry. Hit like, but also join my Patreon. You can even do it for free. Patreon.com/square and compass. If you want that coin, I can mail it out to you. It's no trouble at all. Okay, I don't know I only know what IOFF. I never heard of GUOFF. Is it under the same banner? Like, do they recognize each other? Water, thank you for the stars. Socrates, you sound like you've been rage baited. It's possible. I mean, I'm not going to... It's not something I believe in, but then again, one thing Freemasonry reminds us of is we are not in a position within Freemasonry to tell anybody if their religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs are right or not right. And I believe that to be the case. It's up to you to figure that out based on your heart. Well, thank you, Morningstar. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm not sure why they would do that. What's up, Snakes Pliskin? That's... I mean, I know Patreon is going through a thing where they're combining profiles. I don't know why they would deactivate your account, though. That's strange. Mike, I don't think I'm demon-possessed, but maybe I am. Who knows? I suppose anything's possible. But I do not think I'm demon-possessed. Mike says evil doer. I do not like to dance, Morningstar. I'm a terrible dancer. Believe me, no one wants to see me dance. And I'm not saying that because I have no legs. A lot of people, when I say that, think it's because I have no legs. I can't dance because I have no rhythm. Greasy Ronnie, maybe I am possessed by Shrek. Who knows? Is it, that's weird. I don't know why Mayo and Oreos. Well, if you want to try again, I hope you will. If it doesn't work, then so be it. You're over 18, right? I mean, that could be an issue, maybe. If you're not, make sure your permission to be on stream. Stay Gold. I am not from New Jersey. I am from Canada. Born and raised in Winnipeg, currently live in Windsor. And I hope everybody is excited as I am for Canada Day. It's going to be a blast. I am not involved in sorcery. I don't believe in sorcery. Well, first of all, Mayo and Oreos, congratulations. You can join Freemasonry in Ontario. You need to be 21 years of age or older. But why it is you couldn't, like Patreon keeps deactivating your account, I have no idea. It could just be technology being a pain, right? Sometimes technology is that way, unfortunately. Zach, 80s metal. You've been on here before, right? We talked about our mutual love of 80s metal. I think that's a supreme being. My supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and as expressed through geometry, which is a very similar thing. Thank you, Bulba, for the More Perfect Ashler membership. Once again, Bulba, are you going to be there tomorrow if possible? Anytime between 8:30 and 10:30, I will have the coin for you. I mean, I can say, for me personally, Patreon has always done well. I've never had any issues with it so far. I'm going to knock on wood. To my knowledge, everybody who has been paying, it's gone through without issue. So I'm not sure what's going on there. All I can say is it's been good for me, at least thus far. But I'm always checking regularly. Greasy, if they had robot legs, I might get them, but I wouldn't want to wear them all the time. I like having no legs. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. It's who I am. I'm happy to have no legs, and so I don't need to, get robot legs. To put them on and take them off, I'd be fine with. but I would not want to wear them permanently. To everybody else watching this, become a Patreon supporter. You get different gifts, different awards, different perks, different appreciation mementos, not just once, but every year. Well, thank you, Mayo. That's much obliged. Yeah, try again. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then so be it. I appreciate you trying and the effort. And obviously, if that doesn't work, another option is to become a member on YouTube. You can do that as well, right? And then one of the things we do on YouTube with membership is every now and then I'll do a member exclusive poll, and that is how I will determine the next topic to discuss. Like you can become a more perfect Ashlar through Bulba, like as Bulba did, for example. I have no idea what blood libel, like that's the anti-Semitic thing, right? Where, it's making prejudiced remarks against Jewish people. I mean, no, we did not invent blood libel. I will say, though, Freemasons are going to be, and should be, if they understand the rules of Freemasonry, should be respectful of all different ethnicities, religions, backgrounds, etc., whether you are Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, or anything else. And to the 47 votes, to the 74% of you who don't follow me on Patreon, what are you doing with your life? Please hit like and subscribe as well. Tom Collins. I mean, I'm always hesitant when people say they're an atheist. Like, what do you mean by atheist? Like, if I ask you, do you believe in a supreme being of any sort, what would you say? Mr. Inappropriate, what is going on? Thank you for being here. You know what's inappropriate, Mr. Inappropriate? Not being a Patreon supporter. So please support me on Patreon, patreon.com/square and compass. And please set your calendars for all of the events we have happening tomorrow. There's going to be a bunch of them. We're going to do a ton of live streams. Starting probably 11 a.m. We may be doing some streams even earlier, though. So please follow us for all of those. I mean, Jim, I've known many Christian Freemasons who would strongly disagree with you on that one. In fact, I've known a couple priests, and fathers who were Freemasons, or pastors. So they would strongly disagree with you on that one. Mr. Inappropriate, you could be a Freemason. That's fine. Thank you, Mayo. Go see your friends. Tell your friends to subscribe to my channel as well. Would be much obliged. So, Jim, why do you say that Christians cannot really be Freemasons? Because it goes against the most. So what are these teachings that it goes against? I would not say that, Pastor. I mean, I would not say they're mostly anti-occult. I would not say they're mostly pro-occult. I would say occult is kind of irrelevant to being a Freemason. Like, it also, how do you find occult? Like, if you're a Freemason and you spend your weekends as a Wiccan, Wiccan, which I think could be defined as occult type of practices, like, that's okay. Like, you do you, I guess. I'm not going to judge you for it. But also, Freemasonry itself is not an occult institution. It's a separate thing from the occult, right? Occult, at least in a modern sense, meaning sinister or spooky or scary, then yes, Freemasonry is anti that. If by occult you simply mean people having the right to private or hidden information, everybody has the right to private or hidden information. It's one of the things to be human is to have the right to be part of a private group or private club. Thank you, Clark. I know I look like Shrek. I mean, I may not find any Orthodox priests that follow Freemasons, but that could just mean that the Orthodox priests don't understand Freemasonry, which I would argue is the case. That is true, Rondo. It's kind of like, though, the term occult has become, as of late, unfortunately, something that means not just hidden, but has become something that means, you know, spooky or nefarious. It's taken on different meanings, unfortunately, which does happen. Words do that, right? The English language is regularly going to change. Words change what they mean. Like the word ironic. In the 90s and 2000s, it stopped meaning when the stated objectives contradict the results and came to mean just detached and sardonic. Then yes, Pastor Sempa, we would be anti-manipulating circumstance through will and intent. Although I suppose anything you do in life, you're trying to manipulate the circumstances as a general rule, right? I suppose if you want to be really technical about it, right? What else? This channel, right, is me trying to manipulate circumstances to grow. In this case, my Patreon, but I wouldn't use that to mean occult. Certainly it's not magic, if that's what you mean. I don't believe you can manipulate circumstances through magic. You can use words to denote or words to infer. That's true. Jim Billy? Well, NDAs do not immediately imply anything wrong, right? This goes again, like when I say, and I've said this in the past, right? One of the issues I have right now is, for whatever reason in our society, we have started to assume the worst about everything, which I don't think is a healthy way for society to live, right? A non-disclosure agreement is not inherently indicates that people are, that there's anything wrong or that we should assume guilt or innocence, nor should an accusation, nor should having secrets, nor should privacy, right? People have the right to be part of private groups and clubs. People have the right to their privacy, not in every circumstance. If, for example, you're going to be a police officer, I think it's completely fair that you should have to disclose Masonic membership to your supervisors. But having said all of that, this goes back to what I was saying before. I do believe truly that human beings have the right to privacy and have the right to be part of groups and organizations that have private, ceremonies and rituals and rites. But more importantly than that, have the right to not have those memberships be judged, right? It's one of those things where it's not enough to simply have the right to be part of a group, but to have the right to be part of that group with not automatic suspicion or doubt or judgment. Jetta, I don't know what that means. Please hit like and subscribe. Dina, trying not to lie. I mean, I get things wrong, but I don't lie. Please join my Patreon, by the way. Tim, can a felon join? So my answer to that is always maybe. It depends on a lot of different circumstances. But my basic answer is don't do the work for the lodge. So what I mean by that is if you have a felony and you want to be a Freemason, don't let the felony stop you from approaching the lodge and expressing your interest in joining, and you go from there, right? Maybe the felony is too severe in nature. Maybe the felony, was too recent. Who knows what it is? And the lodge may decide they don't want you to be a part of Freemasonry for that reason, and so be it. That is the right of the lodge to make that decision. Or maybe they'll feel like, there's been enough time has passed. he's paid his amends, he's served his time in jail, he went to counseling, he's paid restitution, and we're going to give him a chance. Both of which is perfectly acceptable and perfectly within the purview of the lodge. So your responsibility, if you want to be a Freemason, again, just go to the lodge and express your interest in joining. That's all you need to do. Tell them what's going on. Tell them, what happened, the nature of the offense, the circumstances. Let the lodge decide. Jean, no, it's not. Freemasonry is a private institution. It has the right to accept or not accept members. And if the felony is severe enough, they may decide not to. Right? In some cases, they will request a criminal record check. Bunker, I have no idea what you're talking about. That seems very confusing to me. That is a very good reason, and the fact that you've changed, good for you. You should be proud of yourself. Change is incredibly hard, and any efforts that you're making to change, step by step, day by day, you should be really proud of yourself for that. Again, what I would say is go to the lodge and explain that. First of all, explain what happened. Explain the steps you've taken to change, what you're doing to continue on your journey to change, the counseling you've gone to, etc., and then ultimately you let the lodge decide, right? But you should be proud of yourself. And if the lodge, whatever the lodge were to say, yay or nay, so be it, right? That's their right to make that decision. Your responsibility is simply to go to the lodge and express your interest if you so desired. Jean, you're sounding pretty entitled, and one thing I hate is entitlement, so you need to calm down with that baloney. You have the right to approach the lodge and express your interest in joining. The lodge has the right to decide on membership. If you got a problem with that, don't approach the lodge and express your interest in joining at all, because entitlement is bullshit. Jim, I've never met a satanic Freemason, put it that way. And I don't think I would, vote to let one in, because to my understanding, their supreme being is themselves, which to me is not a healthy supreme being for the purposes of a Masonic obligation. Good, Tim. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. You have a stable job. You completed rehab. Again, don't be entitled, because obviously the lodge can decide and will decide for itself, depending on the nature of the felony and what happened. But you shouldn't let that stop you from asking them and expressing your interest, right? It's like asking a girl out at the bar. She can say yes, she can say no. Either is perfectly acceptable and perfectly fine. Your responsibility is to just have the cojones to go up and ask the question and let her decide, yay or nay. Thank you, Courtney. Tim, can someone start their own chapter or group? I mean, you can. It would be called clandestine, and what clandestine means is it would not be recognized by any other Masonic organizations. So if you were to start the Tim 420X Masonic Lodge, I mean, more power to you, I guess, but I could not visit it, certainly not when it's in lodge, nor could anybody who was part of it join my lodge. Or visit my lodge. So you're really limiting your ability to actually take part in Freemasonry in a meaningful way. You're actually limiting your ability to be a Freemason in a meaningful way, because you can't visit. And visitation is one of the most important aspects of being a Freemason. Having said that, look, there's no harm by any means in approaching the lodge and expressing your interest in joining. And if you didn't want to start your own group, I mean, I guess, like I said, it's just not going to be recognized. It's going to be clandestine. So I don't know what the dark side is, Pastor. That sounds to me like Star Wars. Jim, I do not believe we've been visited by UFOs and ETs. Each lodge decides for itself. As whatever you say says, you do have the right to be arrested if you're being a fool. Um, Bobberton, that's a interesting adjective to use. Please hit like and subscribe. Please follow me on Patreon as well. That would be incredibly helpful, and I would be grateful. So that's a really good question, Rondo. The question of clandestine or not. So ultimately, the decision as to what is or isn't clandestine comes down to each Grand Lodge jurisdiction. So I'm a member of a lodge in Ontario. Every year, Ontario Masons, or Ontario Grand Lodge, which is our governing body in Ontario, sends a list out to each lodge. And that list has the names of every lodge and jurisdiction that is considered regular and recognized. And that list is actually placed in the front of a register book. So if somebody comes and says, I'm a member of Lodge so-and-so, the next question we'll ask is, what jurisdiction is that under? And then we'll check to confirm it's a recognized jurisdiction. And we will, check the dues card to make sure they're being honest about it. So for example, if Tim 420 came to my lodge and said, I'm a member of Tim 420 Lodge, we would say, what Grand Lodge is it a part of? If he says it's not part of any Grand Lodge, we would know automatically he's full of baloney. If he were to say it's part of the Grand Lodge of Texas, I would need to see a dues card and confirm it says on their Grand Lodge of Texas. And if he, is so dedicated, he is successful in counterfeiting a dues card, well then there's nothing else we can do at that point. But that's what we would do to check. So each lodge, each jurisdiction will decide for itself. No two jurisdictions may have exactly the same list. Like Ontario recognizes some jurisdictions that Manitoba doesn't recognize, etc., etc. In North America, every year there is a committee on recognition which meets, which forms, and which creates a list of lodges that they recommend be recognized. Very often it's based on 3 factors: the requirement for the belief in a supreme being and a volume of the sacred law, territorial sovereignty, so you can't have 2 jurisdictions in the same territory, in the same jurisdiction, and compliance with the landmarks of Freemasonry. But that committee it's not binding. They simply create a list of recommendations that gets sent out to each Grand Lodge, and each Grand Lodge can decide as they please. I always recommend to people, especially when you're starting out at the start, you can really get into the weeds with this clandestine, recognized, not recognized. You're far better off to just focus on traveling, enjoying yourself. Just check with your secretary if the lodge you want to visit is recognized or not. Don't get too into the weeds on it. I mean, it's very arbitrary, Rondo, right? That's kind of by definition, arbitrary. Any rule that is man-made is arbitrary, right? And that's why I don't get as surety about clandestine lodges as other people do. George Washington was clandestine when the Revolutionary War was taking place. Some would say Jose Rizal was clandestine. I think we can get really, really surety about it, and I don't think that's always very helpful. I think you need some type of system to recognize, because otherwise, what would stop me from putting a sign on my front door, calling myself a Masonic Lodge, and then trying to take advantage of people? So you need some type of recognition system in place. Because unfortunately people will use the term Masonic and use the idea of Freemasonry to try to either A, create organizations that engage in illegal acts like in France, or to try to scam people, or to just make stuff up that's full of nonsense, right? So you do need some type of recognition system, but you have to be honest and recognize that it is ultimately arbitrary, right? I mean, very few things in life aren't. The speed of light is not arbitrary. That's a constant of the universe, right? the fact that I have to renew my license every year, that's arbitrary. That's something man-made. I'm definitely not a sorcerer of mysticism. It'd be fun to be a mystical sorcerer, I suppose, but sadly, I am not. Not to disappoint anybody. First of all, people, I am one subscriber away from 4,360. So let's get me over that goal line. Second, please support me on Patreon. It would be truly appreciated. You can join out the Patreon for free, but even joining at a $5 a month mark helps out big time, and I would be grateful. I have, Dylan, and that's unfortunate that that happens. Why do I need to eat more vegetable soup? Although I do like vegetables. Because people are wrong, the fat muppet. Because people are wrong, which is fine, by the way. Like, you're allowed to be wrong. It's, something that human beings get to be, but it's because they're wrong and because they believe in nonsense on social media, which is really unfortunate. And also, the idea of Freemasonry, the occult. I mean, there's hoaxes like the Leo Taxel hoax, things like that as well. That is really cool. 3_2x. You dark magician it up. Or you dragon slay it up. No, I mean, there are some Freemasons who probably believe in UFOs. Actually, I know a couple of Freemasons who are all in on UFOs. There are some Freemasons, unfortunately, I believe, who believe, there are some Freemasons, unfortunately, who believe the Earth is flat, which is a whole other can of tuna I don't want to get into. I don't believe in things unless I have some type of incontrovertible proof. I don't believe in basing things on odds when it's as important as life outside of Earth. So until I actually see them, or until I see sufficient proof through news outlets, legitimate news outlets, I'm just not going to believe it. Well then, Dane, I guess I don't follow the devil because I don't believe in UFOs. Dane, please hit like and subscribe. SM, we do not do that either. We do ceremonies within Freemasonry. We do rituals, but ceremonies and rituals are not inherently dark magic. I mean, your favorite sports team has a ceremony and a ritual. Dane, well, welcome back. I always forget who's been and not been, so thank you for being back here. Hey, my stream is growing. I had like 25,000 viewers last month, so I'm not going to remember everybody. Also, however, though, are you a Patreon follower? If you're not, please do so. If you unsub, that's okay, Dane. You are welcome to do so. I mean, I always bug people to do it because obviously it helps the algorithm, but nobody has to be subbed to this channel if they don't want to be. There's no top of Freemasonry. This whole idea of the top of Freemasonry, it's so dumb and it's so stupid. The highest level you can get within Freemasonry is the 3rd degree, Master Mason degree. You don't get a higher degree than that. So this whole argument of like 33rd is the highest or at the top, it's bullshit. It's baloney. That's not how it works on this channel or in Freemasonry. No holding anybody hostage. Marcus, Earth is not flat. Earth is round. I'm comfortable saying it. I know that might be a controversial statement in 2026, but Earth is round. Earth is a globe. Muggles are what Masons call. First of all, Freemasonry is not a religion, so there can't be non-believers versus believers. Second, we don't call non-Masons Muggles, nor do we call them anything other than non-Masons or not a Mason. I have no idea what 4D means. The fourth dimension is time. It's round in 3D. Hello. I can't say that. I'm going to call you AG. How's it going? Thank you for being here. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Support me on Patreon. I mean, depends how you define time, but sure. I mean, I'm not opposed to... At least the way we measure time is man-made, but obviously there are changes. Whether we invented time or not, we get older, we pass away, we change. Those are all measurements of time in some level. I don't know who Neophyte Review's brother is, Zephyr, but thank you for being here. Well, I mean, I'd come out feet first because unless I flipped over halfway through, I'm not going to change my orientation, right? So, retro, if that was the case, I'm not suggesting it is, I think it's a lot more than that, but if that was the case, that it was just a bunch of grown men playing dress up, what would be the problem with that? Why would that be a bad thing? I mean, I would not call rituals magic, right? A magician may say rituals are, magic, but I think that's silly. The way that you put your socks and shoes on in the morning is a type of ritual, right? Sports teams have rituals. I think the purpose of a ritual is not about magic. I think the point of ritual is to create bonds of brotherhood through shared experiences and shared knowledge, which is what ritual provides. Ritual are idolizing. So Dane, no. Again, when you put your socks and shoes on in the morning, that's a type of ritual. So, no, it's not about idolizing anyone. It's called craft, witchcraft. It's called craft because it refers to stone craft and stone masons who are craftsmen. In the same way, electricians are craftsmen and masons as well, right? Or craftsmen, excuse me. It's not craft as a witchcraft, it's craft as in stonecraft and stonework. I mean, I'm not a huge believer in that, the Fat Muppet. I did write about that a little bit on Medium. You could argue rituals in some ways, at least early in human history, through the bicameral mind, helped us better understand ourselves. I think there's some truth to that. And I wrote about that on Medium, which I hope you'll follow me on. But I would not say ultimately it's about helping us understand ourselves, at least not in 2026. I think it's about helping create bonds and friendship between one another, which is way more important right now. I think in 2026, the issue we have is not that individual Masons are too isolated. I think the issue with us right now is individual Masons. It's not that we don't understand ourselves, it's that we're not part of groups that understand one another. I think civic engagement is the bigger issue we have than a lack of personal understanding. And that is what I think our ritual needs to focus on, so much more so than anything else. LARPing is a thing, Balba. You're absolutely right about that. The author's Stoic. I mean, I don't disagree with you, the author's Stoic. By the way, I love Stoic philosophy. Freemasonry uses the Pythagorean theorem, or uses the 47th problem of Euclid, a squared plus b squared plus c squared in its joules. That type of stuff is incredibly important to Freemasonry. What is it about Jesus Christ that you don't believe? Kenneth Clark says, repent. Well, I'm not a Christian, I suppose. I wouldn't call myself a Christian, so I guess I don't believe in the supernatural aspects of it, right? I don't believe, but this is me speaking personally, not speaking for Freemasons. There are many Freemasons who are Christians. I don't believe, for example, that you can be born of a virgin, or bring people back from the dead, or heal, wounds by touching them. I would probably, again, I'm as sure that Jesus existed as I am sure that Julius Caesar existed, or that any historical figure existed. I'm not a believer in the supernatural components of it. I would need to speak to those witnesses, because when it comes to a claim like that, I'm going to need more than 400 witnesses. I'm going to need to see it myself or have modern proof, because it's simply too against what I understand to be the normal rules of nature and rationality. But again, I speak for myself. I know many Christian Freemasons. I know many Muslim Freemasons. I know many Jewish Freemasons. I know many, Hindu and Sikh Freemasons, indigenous as well. The beautiful thing about Freemasonry is it welcomes men of all different faiths, backgrounds, and beliefs. Somebody above said Freemasonry is a cult. Retro Rocket, why do you say Freemasonry is is a cult? Not Scott. There are Scottish Freemasons, but what is it about Freemasonry that makes you think it's a cult? Yes, I did hear about Thomas Jefferson, who wrote his own version of the Bible that took out the supernatural elements of it. Boers? Maybe I should. Who knows? There are plenty of people who, throughout history, were opposed to Christianity and became them. C.S. Lewis, the most famous example. I don't see it happening, but maybe it will one day. Jigsaw, I enjoy the Saw movies. They're not my favorite, but I would ultimately say Jigsaw is a B-level horror icon. He's very good, but he doesn't quite reach the ranks of, Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers, Ghostface. Also, his morality makes zero sense. The idea that because someone is not sufficiently enjoying their life, they deserve to be tortured is quite the leap. Hello, we are whole. Nice wig. What wig are you talking about? Look at this hair. Just got it cut. Oh, majorly. And that always bothered me about him. I believe in a supreme being. My supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and geometry, which I don't think is supernatural per se. I don't think every supreme being needs to be supernatural, either in a Masonic context or just in a day-to-day context. So Marcus, not quite. Great architect does not refer to a specific god. I got to plug my phone in. I'll be back in just one moment. You're going to keep hearing me talk. Right, to be a Freemason is not to believe in a specific great architect god. That's not how it works. Rather, it can mean you believe in any number of different types of gods. So when you are a Muslim Freemason and you refer to the great architect, you are ultimately referring to, I guess it'd be Allah. If you are a Christian Freemason and you refer to the great architect, you would be referring to, Jesus. It really is dependent on your personal religious beliefs, but the great architect is not in and of itself a religious figure, right? It's one of the great misconceptions about Freemasonry. Ugh, this light is driving me crazy. Is that there's like a Masonic god specifically? There is not. So just keep that in mind. I hate trying to plug in my phone while I'm streaming. It's such a pain. I got to get a better system for this. 33. Well, congratulations, Dean, on being a 33rd degree. But if you are a Mason, you should remember and understand that the highest degree in Freemasonry is not the 33rd degree. It is the 3rd degree. Okay, here we go. Masons are great people. I mean, stonemasons are absolutely great people, and they absolutely build a lot of really important things. And I think every Freemason should be honored that we became a part of, that we are part of an organization that evolved from stonemasonry. I think that's something worth taking pride in. I've never met anybody who believes in Baphomet. I never heard of Baphomet until I started this YouTube channel and people started telling me I believed in Baphomet, which is very, I will say, can be quite frustrating. I don't think there is I don't know what Baphomet is precisely. Some people tell me it's another word for the devil. I have never heard of Baphomet. Ugh. Mike Todd. Well, whatever you say. We're not going to be slandering anyone's religious beliefs, including Muhammad, including Jesus. I've known enough Muslims who are good people and honorable that, they seem quite capable of following Muhammad and being good people, which makes me think Muhammad is probably not a garbage person. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but just remember, we're not knocking anyone's religious beliefs or anybody's religious figures as I try to get this better set up. There we go. That is better. All right. Hopefully that's good. Yes, great architect is a colloquial metaphor for one supreme being, regardless of their own faith. I've never met anyone whose supreme being, though, is Baphomet within Freemasonry, or within life, for that matter, for being perfectly honest. Actually, Dane, that's not true, interestingly enough. I just learned this. The term for Jesus in the Bible was tecton, or tekon. I think it was tecton, actually. And that actually does not translate as carpenter. It translates as craftsman, including someone who works with stone. And in fact, stone was a much more common building material in Judea than wood. So Jesus, the figure, the person, the human, whatever you think about supernatural elements, was probably more of a stonemason than he was a carpenter, which is a cool little thing I learned. And also, we know that Jesus took, Jesus spent time in Egypt, which was known not for woodwork, but for stonemasonry, even at the time. Do Freemasons, we don't have any bone saws, Ryan, unless you're a doctor, and then no, you're using the bone saws not in public, but as part of your surgery, or surgeons. Thank you, Miss Emily. You can congratulate and thank the Prince Barbershop on Wyandotte Street East. They do an incredible job here in Windsor. Please go check them out. Tell them I sent you. They're an awesome group, and they do great haircuts. They're really friendly people as well. Lord Christ, hello. Could Michael Myers or Jason? I think so. Certainly, Jason. But the thing is, whatever you say, and by the way, I'm going to... So the Fat Muppet, I have no idea. I don't know anything about Anton LaVey, but Satanic Pope does not sound good to me, put it that way. So Mike, once again, we have somebody bringing up Morals and Dogma. That book is a pain in my ass. Albert Pike is not the most important person within Freemasonry. For many people, he's not the most important at all. I'll give you a very simple answer to what I always start with. The very start of Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike says, anyone is free to disregard or disagree with anything found untrue or unsound to him. He was not writing a book of like what Freemasonry is, or he was not writing a book of Masonic dogma that every Mason has to follow. He was not even responsible for Freemasonry in Canada, in Northern Masonic jurisdictions, or in any Blue Lodge jurisdiction. He was a sovereign Grand Commander of Scottish Rite. He was not, responsible for York Rite. He was not responsible for Eastern Star. He was writing a book which represented his opinions and his thoughts on Freemasonry, and his belief that anytime you seek light or knowledge, anytime you seek knowledge, you are seeking light or seeking Lucifer, not Satan. He also believed that if you didn't have a solid foundation, knowledge for its own sake would be blinding and dangerous. But he does not speak for Freemasonry, he speaks for his opinions on Freemasonry. A really good quote I really like to use with Albert Pike came from a friend of mine who's a York Rite Mason, and he was on this stream, and someone asked him, Albert Pike said X, what do you say to that? And my friend responded, well, I'm a York Rite Mason. I don't give a shit about Albert Pike. I always really liked that and thought that made sense. There are a lot of things Albert Pike said that I agree with. There are a lot of things Albert Pike said that I disagree with. But the idea that Albert Pike is a leader in Freemasonry, for your typical Mason is not true, nor does he have to be. Oh yeah, Jesus was certainly probably a very skilled craftsman. There's almost no doubt he was. Miss Emily, 20-hour flight, swing on down anyways. Canada would love to see you. But, Miss Emily, one thing I'm asking people to do today, because I'm trying to grow my channel, is I'm hoping you will support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/square and compass. You can sign up for free, or you can sign up at a paid amount, anywhere from $5 a month to $50 a month. I'd be truly grateful, and it would be truly helpful. So please, if you can do so, I'd be very, very grateful. Who is the light bearer again? Well, according to Albert Pike, the light bearer is Lucifer, which was the serpent and not Satan from, that was cast out of heaven. Would it make a difference if I was, Jim? What I am is handsome. I always look mad. It's what YouTube has done to me. Marcus, no. Albert Pike did not write the letters to Mancini. That is a scam, or a fraud, or a hoax. That's what I'm looking for. He did not write any letters to Mancini. Those are the letters about the Third World War or whatever it is, right? Not the case. I don't know what it means to be pro-LGBTQ. I can say I'm pro-LGBTQ, and I would say, I would say within Freemasonry, what we should remember is we are supporters of people who are good men and honorable. That's the most important thing. That's what matters. So whether you're gay or straight, LGBTQ, you are my brother, and you're welcome to sit with me in lodge. Even satellites can fall from the sky. I don't know what that means, Jeremy, but that is true. So you're Muslim? Name I can't pronounce? Which, as it should be. We should all be respectful of our religious beliefs, but also the religious beliefs of others. Doesn't mean we have to agree with it, right? What it means is we have to respect them. In the same way, your neighbor could be a Muslim, could be a Christian, could be Jewish, could be Hindu, could be Sikh. you're not really going to care about that. At least you shouldn't if you're a smart person. What you're going to care about is, are they good people? And if so, you know, are they good neighbors? Well, I mean, I don't think that believing in something proves its existence. It also doesn't disprove its existence. I mean, there seems to be something about human beings that seek and desire answers and want to make sense of things. And obviously, I think very often what we see is, you know, God or religion of any sort can be a very good and convenient way to create answers when you're struggling. You know, and people want to believe there's something bigger than themselves or greater than themselves in the world. I think that's really beautiful. And I think, you know, some people have argued that belief in God, or the fact that so many people believe in God in and of itself, means and equates with an argument for God's existence. I don't know if I believe that or not, to be honest, but it's a possibility, right? The idea that if so many people throughout history, independent of one another, have come to the conclusion that there is a supreme being, that's an argument for the existence of a supreme being. I don't know if I buy that or not, but it's possible. What I do know exists is my Patreon. So please, guys, take a moment to find my Patreon. Jeremy, the Fat Muppet, everybody watching this, go to my Patreon and see if you can support it. I would be very DGAF. I'd be very much appreciative. I did. Thank you, Prince Barbers, the Prince Barber on Wyandotte Street East. But that could be it as well, the Fat Muppet. I think for me, whatever the reason is for one to believe in a supreme being, um, it doesn't concern me as much as so long as the results of that belief are they act in a manner that's good and kind towards others. Um, Tanner, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you for that. We are 2 subs away from 4,360. So let's see if we can help a brother out. There is not Husafel. I just like to get my hair short when it's really warm out, especially because I find otherwise it gets uncomfortable. I pay less than that. Usually for a haircut, it's 20. Haircut and shave, it's 30 Canadian. They're great. They're great value, and they're really good people. Delirious, how's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope you'll take a moment to let me know how your day is treating you. And please don't forget, tomorrow I'm going to be live streaming throughout the day celebrating Canada Day. So I hope you'll find me for that. Yeah, it's very expensive. You know what's not expensive? My Patreon. So please support me there. I mean, it's one of those things, right? It's how much money are you willing to spend? Um, and if you spend, you know, if you're cheap, is that going to cost your, is that going to result in not a good haircut? That's a Masonic idea, right? A lot of Masons are struggling with dues and whether to charge more or less for their dues. And the argument goes, a lot of people can't afford to spend, you know, a ton of money on Masonic dues, but by the same token, the less money you have for your lodge to function, the less special events they can hold. It's tough. A lot of people are struggling to figure out what the approach is. Um, I'm not on Buy Me a Coffee, DGAF. I should look into that. I never really thought about joining that. For now, I'm on the Patreon, so please follow me on Patreon. I'd really, really appreciate it. It's easy to sign up, and you can join, and you can follow me for free. But if you want to follow me for even $2 a month, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Delirious Night. Up and down. I hope you are all doing well also. I don't even know much about Buy Me a Coffee. How does it work? Honestly, I could be and just forgotten. I signed up for a bunch of stuff early on, and then... Oh, supporters tip you live. I mean, it's an interesting thing to look into, but because I'm already, like, I already have the... You know, you can already tip me here without buying me a coffee. I'm not sure if it'd be beneficial. Thank you, DGAF. That's very kind of you. Patreon.com/SquareandCompass. I'll put it in the thing one more time, just so people can find it. My goal today was trying to grow my Patreon. Patreon.com/SquareandCompass. He was ibuprofen, at least I believe he was. Thank you, DGAF. Yeah, just make sure you record it. Patreon.com/SquareandCompass. Depending on the level, you get different items. You get commemorative coins. You get postcards. For $50, you get a scale model Masonic building. Well, thank you for doing this while on your lunch break, DGAF. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. That's not a bad idea, whatever you say. It is unfortunate. I mean, look, there's been Freemasons who believed a lot of nonsense, including things that are wrong. I think that if you are being a good Freemason and you're following the Masonic rules and ethics, you would not be a Nazi. But unfortunately, you know, we can try our best as Freemasons to just bring in good people. We're not going to always be successful. We just have to do our best. Freemasonry controlled MTV. I don't think that's true, Marcus Phoenix. But I did love MTV. Who are the Draconian guys? I'm not sure who they were. You mean the cult? No, I mean, Freemasonry is not a cult. Thank you for the star. Jest. I'm going to call you Jest. 15, 16, 18, 20. Thank you so much for that. That's incredibly kind of you. I mean, unfortunately, people very often mistake and confuse Freemasons for cult for a variety of reasons. It's unfortunate. I would say primarily it's because just a misunderstanding of what Freemasonry is, right? But the primary difference between Freemasonry and a cult is a cult will attempt to isolate you from your friends, from your family, from your work, from your religion, whereas Freemasonry is the opposite. We in Freemasonry do not want to isolate anybody, right? We are trying to encourage people to spend more time with their friends, with their family, with their church, not going to Masonic meetings if it interferes with those things. So that's because, you know, we want people to have full, wonderful lives. To have that, you can't just rely on Freemasonry. It does, but hidden doesn't always mean bad. I mean, Marcus, your bank account is occult information, right? By that definition. So we do not DGAF. Illuminati and Freemasons are different. Illuminati was started by an ex-Mason who did not like the Freemasons. He thought they were too expensive and they weren't esoteric enough. So he decided to start his own organization and his own group called Illuminati. It didn't really last very long. It hasn't been meaningful in over 100 years, but they're not the same organization. Well, I mean, by occult, if simply occult means hidden, as it used to, then by definition, I mean, anything occult, right, is just something that's hidden. lately in life, um, the way people use the term occult has grown to mean scary or nefarious or whatever it might be. But that is a unique thing and a different thing. It's not historically accurate to what the term occult means. Um, there you go, ibuprofen. Sure. Well, that's concerning that your middle school teacher was saying that. The juice does not run the world, nor do Freemasons. I don't think anybody runs the world. Um, well, I mean, there's different types of occult information. Maybe the good way to think about it is there's occult information that's permissioned and occult information that's permissionless. I don't believe that, ibuprofen. I think it simply is the case that there are too many different and too many disparate groups and disparate interests for any one club or any series of clubs to rule the world. They would constantly be at battle and at war with one another. Um, that is quite concerning. Unfortunately, teachers get things wrong as well. What can you do, you know? The Templars in architecture and built the cathedrals. So, I mean, people say that, okie dokie, but I don't believe that to be the case. The Templars were a military and religious and economic order that ended in around 1308 with the order from the King of France, Friday the 13th. The, the stonemasonry was trade unions and trade guilds. Some Templars may have been aware of stonemasonry and how it works, but many, probably were not. I mean, when the order ending the Knights Templar was put in effect, it did not end stonemasonry and it did not end the stone Masonic guilds, which was still a highly important and highly profitable trade. Um, I mean, they were clever, they were smart, they were also well trained because they had the trade guilds, right? It's not a matter of being clever exclusively. It's cleverness combined with being part of a trade guild or a trade union and being adequately trained, which is why Freemasonry places such emphasis on, um, progression and being progressive in your ability and in your skills. I think that can happen ibuprofen, but I think the key is for that you need checks and balances and you need a strong democratic system and strong democratic, um, safety nets. So, for example, you can try, in Freemasonry to quote unquote subvert, um, the people, like if you're worshipful master, try to subvert the people beneath you, but it's not going to work because you'll just be voted out next year. And there's also a treasurer and a secretary and other officers to stop you from doing it, right? Do Masons have a negative view? I would think everybody would have a negative view on Epstein, DGAF. But yes, I mean, one of the things about Freemasonry, right, that we're taught is, if nothing else, we should be respectful of and compliant with the laws of the country in which we live and in which we work. So, you know what, if you are breaking the rules, breaking the law, that's going to be frowned upon in Freemasonry. And then on top of that, to be doing so in such a way that is so harmful to so many people, that is going to be especially looked down upon. Juan, thank you for being here. Like, there are people who are that green up with social power. I think it's more of a them versus them versus them. Again, there are definitely people who are trying to harm others, trying to take advantage of their power. But I think they're just as much fighting against each other as the people beneath them. Because societal interests and power will always be ultimately in conflict with one another. I agree, Brother Michael Moore. I think that's a very good definition of effective Mason. Well, I mean, look, as an artist, I think Michael Jackson was obviously incredible. Not as good as Prince, for the record. When it comes to, Michael Moore, when it comes to, Michael Moore, when it comes to Michael Jackson, like, I have no idea if he committed the crimes he's accused of. I don't know. If he did, then that's a monstrous thing. And you can be both very talented and a monster. It's not impossible for both to be true. I have no idea, though, if he, I think with Epstein, I guess there's never a finding of guilt, but I think there's enough evidence that we can safely say he did some absolutely horrible things. And I would hope that Freemasons would vilify him. Or, if nothing else, I would hope that Freemasons would vilify the crimes that harm the most vulnerable people in society. I didn't take it rudely, DGAF. I mean, and you asked, some people believe that Epstein was a Freemason. He was not. Some people believe Ghislaine Maxwell was a Freemason. He was not. So we do have to deal with that, unfortunately, and that nonsense. But, Freemasons will always believe in doing what's best for society. And obviously, there's zero question that when it comes to not doing best for society, Jeffrey Epstein is near the top of that list. Jackson was an entertainer. Prince was a musician. Marcus, I think that's a pretty decent way to describe it. I will always say I think Prince was better than Michael Jackson. Prince was, but it's not a bad way to look at it. I don't necessarily disagree with that by any means. The minimum wage should be I don't think the minimum wage. I don't know about 75 per year, but I think the minimum wage needs to go up in a lot of places. So no, Freemasons don't interact with Scientology, at least not in an official capacity. It would not shock me if Masons have become Scientologists or if Scientologists have become Freemasons, but not in an official capacity. It's just, in the same way, like, you can be a Freemason and attend the church. Like, you can be a Freemason and be Catholic or be Christian or be Muslim or be a Rotarian or be an Odd Fellow, whatever it might be. Shadow trace, Freemasonry. So Joseph Smith was a Freemason. Freemasons are not based on religion. Freemasons are based on stonemasonry and stone Masonic guilds. Having said that, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being of some sort. But primarily, what it's based on are stone Masonic guilds. A lot of people think that it's the case, but it's not. It's just misinformation out there. Tell Samantha I say hello back. I hope she's doing well. I think one of the Rockefellers was a Freemason, but I forget which one. It's not like all their family were. Shadow Trace, I hope you'll follow me on Patreon. Okie dokie, I hope you'll follow me on Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Square and Compass. So guilds represent, Michael Moore is following me, and for that I'm grateful, and thank you so much for that. It helps out big time. So guilds are basically trade unions. They are trade unions which were responsible for a combination of training new members and social support and membership assistance. Stonemasons are craftsmen or tradesmen who build things out of stone. And they obviously had a social component to it. Any union does. But that was not its primary purpose. But at a certain point historically, people decided that they liked the idea of taking the stone Masonic elements and turning them into a guild. Taking the stone Masonic elements, turning them into metaphors and allegories, and branching off into a social group or social club that was open to both stonemasons and not stonemasons. There you go, Tiamat. Um, let's see. Who is the most famous open Mason? In modern times or ever? Like Brother Michael Moore mentioned Robert Burns, that's a good one. George Washington, that's a good one. I mean, he may have thought it did. I don't know. I've known, I think, Baptist Freemasons. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm trying to think if I have or not. I mean, no religious belief conflicts with Freemasonry, right? But the religious leaders may think differently. Well, Marilyn Monroe couldn't have. Well, so as a general rule, when you think about Freemasonry, think about it as a fraternity. It's a fraternal organization, so men exclusive. There are Order of Women Freemasons. There is also Eastern Star, but in Marilyn Monroe's time, Order of Women Freemasons would have been almost exclusively in England. Eastern Star was around though. Having said that, going back to most famous modern Freemason, Brad Paisley, Shaquille O'Neal are the two I can think of off the top of my head. Primarily Rondo Ellsworth, not exclusively, but primarily. It also borrows from Kabbalah. It borrows from Muslim faith in some cases. It borrows from Stoic philosophy, Egyptian mysticism. It takes from a lot of different things. Delirious King, current state of the world. So the Fat Muppet, if you are a man, then yes. If you are a woman, then no. You just join Eastern Star. Shaquille O'Neal is a Freemason. I think it's very hard to tell because recency bias is such a problem, right? I think it's never felt more dangerous to be a part of the world because the technology is so much greater. Like, from a practical standpoint, it was way more dangerous to be alive a few hundred years ago when life expectancy was, under 30, under 40. So literally it was more dangerous, but it didn't feel that way probably because they weren't constantly inundated with knowledge of like nuclear weapons and nuclear war and a president tweeting a bunch of nonsense all day and night. Like, the perception, it's hard to fight against that perception, you know what I mean? Because there's just so much we're being thrown at every minute of every day. They do, but Rose Qua, don't forget, is part of the Scottish Rite, which is based heavily on Rosicrucianism. So Dustin, you're not completely wrong on that. The only way to get the best of me was by getting the most of my friends to help me out. I mean, that's a Masonic idea, Dustin, right? Like, one of my favorite stories is there's a young boy who tried to lift a rock and he wasn't successful. He couldn't lift it. And he went to his mom and he said, "Mom, I tried with all my strength to lift the rock. I wasn't able." And the mom said, "Did you ask me for help?" And the boy said, "No." And the mom said, "Well, then you didn't use all your strength, right?" My strength is not exclusive to me. My strength is found within my strength and within the strength of my Masonic brothers and the strength of my family and the strength of my friends. And if I'm not using that strength to get the best out of myself, then ultimately I'm not succeeding in life. It's not, but aren't the two, if I recall correctly, Rosicrucianism, I actually have to check which came first, which came second. But if I recall correctly, the Scottish Rite Rose Qua borrowed a fair bit from Rosicrucianism. DGAF, thank you. I'm glad you learned a lot today. Um, and I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to you becoming a patron. Patreon.com/Square and Compass. I'll be, once I see what level you're at and all the rest of it, be prepared to get some cool stuff. Just make sure you send me a message with your shipping information and your contact information so I know where to find you. Well, I think you'll be okay. I don't believe in curses. I've known a few Wiccan Freemasons. They weren't out there cursing anybody, but, to each their own, I suppose. What can you do? Yes, and to the nearly 70 of you that are not Patreon supporters, what are you doing with your life? Help a brother out. We're going to give this a bit more time. We'll be ending this stream. I got to go to a barbecue. I got to do a bunch of social media stuff. Be prepared to see a lot of stuff posted. It is more expensive to ship to the USA, but we can sort it out. Now, keep in mind, though, we'll be doing the 1 a.m. stream this morning, but you also need to keep in mind that tomorrow, probably starting around 11 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a stream of the Canada Day Parade, followed by a ton of streams for the entire day celebrating the greatest country in the world, Canada. Something for which I'm truly grateful to be part of Canada. So it's going to be really fun. I will. It's a community barbecue. So yes, it's barbecue Masonic in two ways, the Fat Muppet. It's Masonic because I'm supporting my community, which we all should. And it's Masonic because it's about being together with other people. Yes, Mendo, I have, and it's incredible. It's one of the most beautiful Masonic buildings in the world. As everybody should, Shadow Trace, but especially Canadians. I always say we in Canada should support. I say every Mason should love his country. If you're a Canadian Mason, you should support Canada. If you're an American Mason, you should support America. Right? It's very important. We'll give it another, let's say, 10 minutes. Mendo, if you want to be one, ask one. So what you need to do is find a Masonic Lodge in your area. Make sure it's legitimate. The way to do that is ask them which Grand Lodge they're affiliated with. But you find the Masonic Lodge in your area, and you just go and you knock on the door, or you write them a letter, or you send them an email, and you express your interest in joining. It really is that simple. At least that's simple to start with. Even in that case, Tiamat, you should love your country. You don't have to love the government, and you don't have to love the decisions the government is making, but that's not the same thing as not loving the country itself. You need to love the country so it can be something better. If you don't love it, what's the point of thinking it can change? I mean, when you say our country, I think you mean America. Keep in mind, I'm Canadian. Sure, I mean, democracy is a Masonic value, equality, tolerance, respect, kindness. Those are not just Masonic values, but sure, but it was not founded exclusively on Masonic values, just for the record, right? It was founded on a lot of different types of values. I mean, that's fair, Tiamat. I think if you belong everywhere, in some ways you belong nowhere, so you want to be careful about that a little bit. But I think what I would say is the better way to look at it is I see the population of the entire earth as my brothers, and I want what's best for all of them. But I also see myself as Canadian and grateful to be Canadian. So Delirious, you need to be a certain age. In Ontario, it's over 21. In Michigan, it's over 18. You need to believe in a supreme being. Whatever that supreme being is, though, the nature of it is up to you. And you need to approach the lodge of your own free will and accord. Not as many times as possible, maybe once, The Fat Muppet. It's a good movie. We are going to be giving this another 5 minutes. Going to be ending this stream. Actually, maybe 10 minutes. Then I'll be ending this stream. Then I'll be back on tonight at 1 a.m. So just going to wait to see who else jumps on to say hello. Once again, hit like, hit subscribe, and please follow me on Patreon. Patreon.com/Square and Compass. I do not know who Sergeant Priston is. Mr. Palad, do you follow me on Patreon? And if you don't, please do so. You can do so for free, but you can do so even at $2 a month, and helps out big time. What is the Feast of St. John? The Feast of St. John is to honor St. John the Baptist, if I recall correctly, which takes place on June 24th. It worked out that the very first Grand Lodge ever, the premier Grand Lodge of England, was formed in 1717 on June 24th. So many Masons consider St. John the Baptist to be the patron saint of Freemasonry. Delirious night. What a question that is. Oh my gosh. Well, I would need to go into a little bit more. So, I mean, intelligence, skilled, like influential, I mean, those are all subjective terms. Now, you have to be intelligent enough to understand what you're doing. That goes into the idea of own free will and accord. Like, let's imagine somebody was so severely mentally handicapped in some way, like that they were not able to understand what they were doing or understand how to take an oath. In the same way, they wouldn't be able to sign a contract. They wouldn't be able to be a Freemason. So when I say you need to join of your own free will and accord, I mean, first of all, you need to not approach the lodge because you're being forced to, or because you want to get a raise at work or something, or your boss is telling you you have to. But you also, when I say own free will and accord, I mean the ability to understand what you're doing and the ability to understand what is happening is part of that as well. But after that, look, there's a process. You get to know a brother, or a potential brother, they get to know you. When I say that you need to join, that doesn't mean joining is a guarantee. Nobody who applies for Freemasonry is guaranteed acceptance. You have to go through the process, get to know the brothers. They'll talk to you, they'll interview you. You may find, as an applicant, the Masons to be annoying as well. That's always possible. I think what I would try to do is focus on the motives, not on the personality. But if it was to a case that they were simply so frustrating or so challenging to get along with that, I did not think that they would be a good fit in the lodge, I may consider not accepting them. Because the ability to get along with others is an important skill that Freemasonry, you require in a Freemason. So having said all that, look, at the end of the day, joining Freemasonry is a leap of faith, right? Like, on both sides. No matter how good you try to be when it comes to meeting with and learning about somebody who's interested in joining Freemasonry, sometimes you let somebody in and it turns out you let the wrong person in. And by the same token, you may join Freemasonry and think it's perfect for you, only to find out, you know what, it's just not right for me. And that's okay too. Um, it is what it is. You do the best you can. But that's why it's so important that you know, you don't rush into joining something, and we as Freemasons don't rush into accepting somebody. He was a clandestine Mason, the Fat Muppet. Well, St. John's Day is a lot of different things, right? Yes, it's for marking the solstice. For Masons, very often it's about celebrating the formation of the Premier Grand Lodge of England. It just depends where you're coming from with it, right? To the 29% of you who are not following me on Patreon, what are you doing with your life? Please follow me on Patreon. I would be grateful. You may see a stream from me today at the barbecue as well, so just be prepared for that. A clandestine Mason is one who is not certified to be a Mason. It's like me calling myself a dentist. I'd be clandestine because I wouldn't be properly registered or licensed to be a dentist. Right? And it's important. I mean, I don't get too shirty about the idea of being clandestine, but I do think it's important that we keep those things in mind, because otherwise, if just anybody can call himself a Mason, I don't think that's the most helpful thing either. We need to have some rules and regulations about what does constitute being a Freemason. I'm going to give this another just couple minutes, then I'll be ending this stream because I got a barbecue I want to go to. So, and maybe a live stream for a couple minutes from the barbecue. Why not? Just for fun, you know? First, though, I need to get myself more water. He was, yeah, he was a fraud. I mean, again, like fraud, like, look, if he, in his heart, believed he was a Freemason or whatever it is, then you know what? So be it. Like, who am I to tell him he's not? What I will tell him is he was not recognized, meaning he could not have sat in lodge with me, nor could I have sat in any lodges he was visiting, because they would be considered not legitimate. A 100 people voted, and 70 of you are not following me on Patreon. The Fat Muppet, Okie Dokie, Ruthless, what are you guys doing? Follow me on Patreon. You can do so for free, but even if you don't, if you don't do so for free, you get way more stuff. Well, thank you, Okie Dokie. I'm grateful. I don't know who Madame Blavatsky is. Could have been part of the Order of Female Freemasons. Okay, do you follow me? Sorry, when you say, like, do you follow me on a paid level or on a free level? I don't think a paid level, right? I know all my paid subscribers, I think. If you join at the paid level, you get some cool swag sent to you. Just make sure to send me your shipping address. Thank you, Delirious. Like I said, I hope you'll follow me on Patreon. All right, we're going to end this stream in, well, I guess it's about time. I'll be back on tonight and tomorrow all throughout the day. So I hope you'll find me there as well. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Hit like, hit subscribe, super chat, comment, etc., and follow me on Patreon.